Welcome to another episode of Redesigning Your Relationships podcast. I'm your host, Giovanna Burgess White, with my co
Hello.
host.
I'm Yvette Beldenegro. Hello.
Oh my God, we're so excited to talk to you today about boundaries. If this is the first time you're watching us, welcome. If this is the first time you're listening to us, welcome. We have been doing this podcast I was talking to somebody for 4 years. Absolutely love what we do. For those of you who don't know what we do, we're relationship coaches. So I just want to give you a little tidbit of what that means. So we really do love helping women in 3 areas in their life. We help them redesign their marriage. We help them rediscover during or after divorce, and we help them rebalance with the relationship between them and their business. So this podcast is all about redesigning your relationships. And so we talk about all the relationships. It doesn't matter. We've had great guests on, we've had great topics. And today we're going to start with our boundary series. We think it's really, really important. It's obviously it's very important to have boundaries in your life, but we thought it was important to break it down into a 6-part series because there's supposed to be boundaries in every relationship in your life. And we wanted to really start with the most important relationship, which is the relationship with yourself, and why it's so important to have boundaries for yourself, not only for clarity, but we can't set boundaries in other relationships if we don't have the ones with ourselves and if we don't know what those actually mean. And today we're going to talk about healthy versus unhealthy, and really the most important thing, that there's no in between. Once you set them, those are them. They're set in stone. You can't go back and forth. And it's been really, really hard for our clients to do this. So we thought, why not bring this to the public and we can talk about it. So
Okay.
today, all about that. Go ahead.
But before we begin, it is a 6-part series.
Yes.
We're going to talk about, we want to make it really clear. So if this is the first one you're listening to, know that these are the ones we're going to be talking about in the future. Or if you later on catch us on series or episode 5 in the series, then you can go back and you know that there's a total of 6. So today is going to be all about yourself because it begins there. Then we're going to move on to the boundaries in your business, your kids, your partner, your family, extended family as well, and then your friends. All of those have boundaries. But we're going to start today because, like Gio said, that is the number one. Where it all begins is with yourself. So, Gio, you want to just explain what a boundary is first?
Oh my God. I would love to. I'm going to give you guys a definition of boundary. Super easy, but then we're going to explain it. It's a line that marks the limits of an area, a dividing line. What exactly does a healthy boundary look like? Healthy boundaries, healthy personal boundaries, are key elements in your physical, mental, and emotional health. They look different for each person, for each relationship, and they may change over time. This is my favorite part. Healthy boundaries involve communicating your wants and your needs in a relationship, as well as respecting the other person in the relationship. Why I love this definition so much, because it says relationship twice. I think, and we're relationship coaches. No relationship can actually be a healthy relationship if you don't have boundaries. But it talks about physical, mental, and emotional health. It also talks about your wants and your needs. This has nothing to do with anybody else. So really, really important. Before we move on, I want to give examples because, again, with our clients, it's like they kind of thought that they had boundaries, but then like some of the boundaries were not really healthy boundaries. So I'm just going to go through 2 to kind of help you. A healthy boundary, being your own person. All of our clients, all of our leads, all of our consultations, the number one thing, people don't have purpose. They don't know. They don't really know who they are, what they're supposed to be. So being your own person is healthy. Unhealthy, feeling incomplete without another person, which a lot of people feel that way. They feel like, oh, well, I'll be better. I'll be complete once I find, my partner, or once I have my kids, or once I, succeed in my business. Another example, healthy, accepting responsibility for your own happiness. This is like my favorite. This is one of my boundaries. I absolutely love it. You can take it. There's the different for everyone, but if you want to take it, you can. Unhealthy, relying on others, especially your partner or your kids or your business or your family or your friends, to make you happy. So you can insert whatever you want in there. But an unhealthy, and a lot of people live their life that way. They rely on other people, on other relationships, on, again, their business, their career, their promotions, um, their accolades, all that. That's what they do. They rely on that to make them happy. So that's what I wanted to go over before we get into anything else, is the definition and some examples and why we start with you. Because if you don't have clarity, you don't know what your wants and your needs are. First of all, nobody else in your relationships are going to know. They're not going to guess them. And then
Yep.
you can't have another healthy relationship. You can't have whatever, however important your relationships are. We talk about all the time, kids, parents, whatever it is in your world, you can't have healthy relationships with them if you don't have boundaries set up. So you have to work on yourself first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. So I just want to share, what does it do? Because we're talking about self. What does this do or not do? So first I'm going to say what having boundaries, or the negative side of not having boundaries. If you don't have boundaries, you're going to experience some form of depression and anxiety. That's what, and honestly, when people do start feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling anxious, it's usually because their personal boundary has been broken or something about their true self. Like, and then they're like, I don't know how to cope with this because it's coming into my world and my space where I don't feel comfortable.
No.
Not having
worry, stress, guilt, all of the things, all of the things that go through your head because there's no clarity. So like,
Yep.
I like that you said that. So
Yep.
that's what happens when you don't have them.
When you don't have them. Another thing that happens when you don't have them, it'll make you feel completely helpless, powerless, and hopeless. Right? I said that, helpless, powerless, and hopeless. Yeah. Like you don't have
Helpless.
any power. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's like, because again, I love what you said. You like a clear delineation. It's a line. So imagine like medieval times, they had the big castles with the big rock walls. Why do they have that? That established the boundary around that community. That was that kingdom or whatever it was. You crossed that into that, you knew you were going to that other person's territory. Same thing. When someone crosses into your territory, you can start to feel helpless, hopeless, and like I can't even help myself because someone's crossed that barrier again that makes you feel comfortable for you. Now, positive things that boundaries can do, because it's great to have boundaries. It can actually help you shield you from a bad experience. It's probably one of the greatest ways to protect yourself is to actually say, this is my boundary, this is my comfort, and I'm not crossing it. Someone else isn't crossing it. I'm not letting them in, whatever it is, whatever the circumstance is, because that's what's going to actually protect you. You know what protects you, and setting those boundaries will protect you. Okay. The other thing is, which I think is funny, it's like almost the opposite that we think. It can actually strengthen your relationships with other people. Then, and because if you don't establish boundaries, sometimes it tears them down. So it's almost, it creates the opposite. You think, oh, what if I establish these boundaries? You don't get it. This person, actually, opposite can happen. It can actually strengthen a relationship. And I thought this was funny. I almost feel like this should be a fact, that neglecting who you are and yourself is not really a way to show someone else that you care about them. So much.
Yeah. People don't realize that.
Mm-mm.
People think of boundaries as being bad. Actually, I always says like the B word, and we talked about the D word. That's like, ooh, boundaries. I'm like, we're not taught. Like we have this conversation with our clients. We're not taught in school. No one tells you. But when we do this course and we do our program, we talk about our mission statement and we talk about creating our individual mission statement. Well, institutions, schools, corporations, nonprofits, they all have that. And there's rules and regulations, which are their boundaries. There's, in order to go to nonprofit, in order to work at this, company, we are not taught to do that for ourselves. And so it does kind of get, so I tell people it's like that gray area gets muddled. It's like, oh, I think I have boundaries. Well, no. Okay. First of all, if you think you have them, you probably don't have clear boundaries. And then the difference between healthy and unhealthy, because again, a lot of people, especially in relationships, we are relationship coaches. They are like, oh, well, I'm just not complete. Like I'm not complete. I don't have purpose. And they're looking to find it in something else or someone else when they don't realize they have to do that within themselves. So not only do boundaries help you, like you said, strengthen other relationships, they also help you with your end goals, like with your life, with your purpose. So when we talk to women about creating their mission statement and talking about what their purpose is, they're like, I have no idea. Like, I've never even thought about that. But when, we can do it in the business, or you can do it with your kids. Like, you really have to have those clear boundaries, because then it's going to get you to that end goal, or to that lifestyle, or if whatever it is that you have planned in your life, the boundaries help you get there. And then, like you said, it also helps not allowing the bad, because at the end of the day, bad things happen, situations happen, but again, the good and the bad you allow. And when we don't communicate them and we're not clear about our wants, it's so easy. It's really that simple. If we're not clear about our wants, clear about our needs with ourselves, it's not going to happen with our partner. It's not going to happen with our spouse. It's definitely not going to happen with our kids. Nobody knows what we're thinking. And even if they knew what we were thinking, is what you're thinking clear? Do you understand what you're thinking? 9 out of 10, no. It's like, oh yeah, no, back forth. And it's like, okay, no, let's just stop. So if anything from today's series, you can even start with 1 to 3 personal boundaries. And you can go online. There's so many great articles on it, but it's, again, physical, emotional, and mental. This is your being. I want you guys to come up with those. And then from there, it's like really starting to think every single day. This is your book, your policy procedures. This is your manual. What are you writing in it? What is the book of you? Because the clearer you are with yourself, the clearer it's going to be with anyone else. And when we do the 6-part series, which we'll go into business next, then we're going to go into your partner, spouse, then we're going to your kids, then we go into your family, and then we go to your friends. It's going to be a lot easier to strengthen those relationships, or honestly let go of some of them, which is totally fine. Accepting transitions and endings and season changes in your life is a great boundary. It's actually amazing. The more you can accept that, the better. Change is growth. If we're staying the same, you're not growing. And if you're staying the same, you probably just don't have clear boundaries. So I really want to emphasize that. It's really, really important that you're making space for other great things in your life, for other relationships that you're going to have strong boundaries with, versus these, I'm not sure, but I'm just trying, the what ifs, but I want to, what about them? It has nothing to do with them. It's all about you. So that's why we started with you today.
So funny. It's like, drop the mic, breathe.
Obviously, okay. I'm super passionate about this.
Yeah, so. Yeah. I'm like, let's go back for 2 seconds. You said something really good. And we are going to talk about kids and kids' boundaries, but I want to kind of make this parallel. The reason it's super important to establish boundaries for kids, obviously, because it's safety issues, right? I told you don't touch the stove. Why? Because you're going to burn your hand. It's a safety issue. But it's a known fact, study after study, that boundaries create security in children. They need those, right? Okay, we're just grown children. We ourselves, our person inside, Yvette inside, needs boundaries, because I need to keep myself safe. And that's my security, my personal security that comes from me, nobody else. So those boundaries I create the security within myself. So imagine not more boundaries in the sense that you just put up Fort Knox around you, but the boundaries that I establish, when I listen to them, I create security, which creates me to be a more secure person, which then I am bringing the world more security. Yep. It just goes back and forth. But this is the other thing I want to talk about. I already know, because, when you listen to podcasts, you listen to people share things. The first thing you think is like, okay, you don't really understand, or just like, well, what's really going on? Why is it so hard for us? Why is it so hard to establish a dang boundary? Okay, I came up with some of them. 1, precondition. We're so preconditioned to believe a certain way that we have to be, do, or whatever, or that we can't go do or can't go be. We can't put up a boundary because we're just conditioned not to. And I think that a lot of that comes from our parents, what we were taught, religious organizations, our government, rules and regulations, corporate America. You just brought up some. I mean, let's just be honest. There's rules and regulations like what you can and cannot wear to work, what you can and cannot say at work. I mean, all those are established for a reason. It creates a culture that everybody knows, and it brings safety. Like, I know I can't say or do this. This person can't say or do this to me. And that's hopefully creating a positive environment. The second thing is, somehow, some reason, we just always have like this thing about wanting to show people our best, but not always in the most positive way. Like, you can think, okay, I'm going to set up this boundary. Because I want to be the best version of me. But most of the time it's because there's something inside of us that go, we don't want someone to see that I'm not my best. Right. And it's funny because when I was writing these down, I thought to myself, yeah, I remember when my 4 kids were really, really young, and I knew I was going to have a whole horde of people come in my house, panic, stress, yelling at them, because my underlying thing was, I want everyone to think that I have everything under control. My kids are well behaved. The house is super clean. I was able to cook everybody because look at me. I'm just such a great little Susie homemaker, right? Wrong. Totally wrong. My boundaries, a better boundary would have been, hey, listen, I got 4 kids. I did not get to all that, but it doesn't matter because I'm still able to just welcome you in my home and just give you love and appreciation, not the perfect house. No one really cared about the perfect house. Okay, the last one. Actually, there's 2 more. We are so stuck in FOMO. It's like we're so afraid of saying no and putting up that personal boundary, because then it's like, well, what if I miss out on something? What if I'm not there? If I'm not there, then I can't experience. If I'm not there, then I might not got my promotion. If I'm not there, then it's like we don't think about what's best for us because we're already it's like we're just in fear of, oh my gosh, we're going to lose out on something. Of course, my thing I thought of this morning was yesterday. You literally said, hey, we were somewhere and you said, hey, we're all going to go out and eat, and do you want to join us or whatever? And it was late, and I was like, yes. And then I went, no, because I knew I had to get sleep. And I knew I wanted to get up early in the morning because I have my own goals. And that was my boundary. No, I know me. If I go, I'm going to have something to drink. Yes, I'm going to eat something. And then it's going to be even later till I go to bed. And then I'm not going to get up and do the things that I want to do. And so I knew my personal boundaries, even though so badly I wanted to go, I had to say no. But there was that, well, what if I miss something? What if these guys do something fun? Because it's the fear of just missing out. Okay, and lastly, and I think you touched on this, when you don't have boundaries that serve you, it's because you really don't know you or your goal or what you're trying to accomplish. So how do you set up a boundary? Again, if you don't even know you're the queen of your own castle, how do you know that you should even create the beautiful brick wall or rock wall, right? So that everybody and anyone can just come in and out of your country, your domain, instead of putting up that wall and saying, nope, not everybody can come in here. Not everybody has access and not everybody can say whatever. You have to come to that door, knock on it, and you're either let in or you're not.
Love
and
it.
We are the queens of our own castle.
We definitely are. Well, I'm excited about next week's. We're going to go into part 2, which is business. And let me tell you, I think other than the one for myself, the one for my business, you and I have totally done some great stuff in our business, but with our clients, because they tell us all the time, teams, clients. I need to have boundaries with my team. I need to have boundaries with my clients. But guess what ends up happening? Because they don't have boundaries themselves within their business, they're trying to create these. And then they're like, oh, but I'm texting my team member at 7-8 o'clock at night or on the weekend. Or I allowed that client to text me and I responded, or sent an email at 2 o'clock in the morning. So we're not going to get into that, but I'm excited about next week. Part 2 will be your business and how to create boundaries with yourself in your business, with your teams, with your clients. And really, when I tell you this, you creating these boundaries in your business is going to give you more time in your life. And it's going to have very healthy relationship. And it's also going to have you have a successful team and a successful business. So tune in next week. We'll be back. And again, if this is the first time, welcome. And if there's any topic on relationships that you want to hear from us, let us know. Just reach out. We go live every Wednesday on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And then we have a new episode on all of our podcast platforms on Friday. And Yvette has one more thing to say.
Well, if this struck a nerve already, you're like, dang, they're only in part 1. And I already feel like, what? You are more than welcome to call or do a connection call with us, which you can go to, it would probably be in the show notes, but you can also just go to ygcollaborations.com and set up a connection call. I'll be happy to talk to you.
Yes. Anywhere you're watching or listening to, the link is there. So Instagram, link is there. Facebook, link is there. If you're listening to YouTube, link is there. Just connect with us. You get to see us. We're virtual. We do virtual connects, complimentary. We have an assessment that we send you. We want to help you be the best version of yourself. So until next